Courtney. My husband's name is John. We came from England. That's where we first met. And my husband came a little earlier than I and built our house. Now, the first house that we lived in was a shanty. A shanty is not like a log cabin. It has wooden walls, but there's no windows, and the mud that's compacted, that's the floor. There's no planks for the floor. It was not the nicest place, but it was a roof over our head, and that's what counted. Now, as time went on and we had a little more money and time to do it, my husband would go out and cut down the trees, and then we would bring them in and we would start building a log cabin. This one has windows, which was really special. They're expensive, but my husband was able to afford windows and a plank floor. That's the best. Now, I'm doing a little crocheting for my daughter. She's looking forward to, she has this beautiful black dress, and she wanted to fancy the dress up, so she wants a white kind of shawl scarf thing. So I'll put that down, and I'll show you how we keep the house, the log cabin, nice and warm. This is called a step stove, and a step stove is exactly that. It's different steps. In here we keep the wood, and then on here you have 5 burners that you could cook on. As we go up, you have 2 more burners that you can keep items warm. And inside, at the sides in this part, is the oven. And in a good day, you could get at least 3 loaves of bread in there to cook. So it's a very important stove. And of course, it heats the upstairs. This is my beautiful cupboard here. I call it a jam cupboard. During the spring and summer, all the children and I go out and we pick all kinds of berries, and then we preserve them by cooking them and putting them in jars. So this half is actually for all the jams and stews, and the other half is for my beautiful dishes that I have. This is one that I brought from England with me. You'll also see up here, it's kind of a nice special time of year, and I have a picture of my father and my mother. Photographs are very expensive, so what I did was I had a gentleman come to the house and he cut out silhouettes, and then I'm able to keep them near me all the time because I won't probably go back to England. Took a long time to get here, so I won't be going back, and it's nice to have my mom and dad here. I'm just setting up the table for the dinner meal. This table was made by my husband. It's just an old plank table, but we treasure it. He made it when we first had our shanty, and it was too big at that time. So when we built the log cabin, we were able to put it in here. I just wanted to point out to you my country couch. This couch was made by my eldest son, and he did a beautiful job on it. And my husband especially likes it. He comes in after a hard day's work. Usually he's up before even the sun comes up, and he'll have a nap on there just before supper comes. So we'll take in the wintertime the couch and we'll move it over by the stove, and oh, it'll be nice and warm, and he'll feel much better after a hard day's job. This door here leads to the outside. The cabin isn't very big. When you have 12 people, it seems a lot smaller. Outside, I have the shed, and there's the chicken coop, which is very nice to have closer to the house. That way you don't have quite as far to go get your eggs. The barn is farther off, way to the right, and before you get to the barn, you come to the outhouse. So the outhouse is red, and it has a big moon on it, and that's where we go during the day. At night, lots of times upstairs here, we use something called a commode, and it's a big dish, and that's what's taken out every morning, and it is dumped and brought back in. Upstairs, we have 12 children sleeping together. A couple of the boys will lay down here by the stove, but we usually have 4 to 5 in a bed. So that's what keeps us warm, really, in the night.
Now that you've been introduced to Mrs. Courtney and her log cabin, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how this settler family would have been getting ready for Christmas. The decorations that any family would have used to decorate their home would be different depending on the country they came from before they came to Canada. In England, families would cut down ivy, mistletoe, and holly to decorate their windows and banisters in their home. Unfortunately, when those families came to Canada, they couldn't find any of those plants here. They may have used evergreen and cranberries instead. Decorating the home was a family affair. Boys and men would be out in the forest cutting down evergreen branches, while girls and women would be busy inside the home, making small decorations from anything they could find in nature and any scraps they might have saved up throughout the year. Now, the Courtneys may not have had a small Christmas tree like the one you see here, and that's because having a Christmas tree inside your home is actually a German tradition. German settler families in the area may have had a small tabletop tree like this one because there wasn't enough room in the log cabin for a full-grown tree.
Decorations that would go on the tree or evergreen would include nuts, berries, feathers, pine cones, cranberry and popcorn chains, calico bows, ribbon, and lace. Children could make dolls and figurines with straw, corn husks, or yarn. They would also decorate with small balls made of sheep's wool. These are the oldest recorded Christmas decorations used in Canada.
Early settler families wouldn't have had special Christmas stockings, but they would have hung their own socks at the end of their bed or maybe downstairs by the fireplace. If the children had been well behaved, the stockings would be filled with toys. One thing you might find at the toe of your stocking was an orange. An orange was a very special Christmas gift because oranges didn't grow around here. They had to be brought here by ship all the way from Spain. And once they arrived, there were no trucks to make deliveries. So it was very hard and it was very expensive to keep an orange fresh through all that travel. The parents and the children would savor the sweet taste of the orange, and they might even keep the peels to use for their fresh scent. While the orange was a luxurious gift, most other gifts that you might receive were very practical. Things like mittens, gloves, hats, and scarves, or maybe a small hammer or a knife for the boys. Whether they were clothes or toys, all of the presents would be homemade. From a very early age, girls would learn how to knit and sew, and boys would learn how to carve things from wood. Women could make hats and scarves and aprons. Girls might embroider a handkerchief or make a pincushion for their parents. Boys would be able to carve a small hair comb from wood, and men might make things like wooden figurines or toys or puzzles, or maybe even a sled. One toy that might have been very, very special would be this model of Noah's Ark. The children of this house would not have been able to play with any toys on Sunday unless those toys had a connection to a Bible story. So that's why this one might have been very popular. The presents were hung in the greenery around the house or tucked under the Christmas tree until the kids woke up on Christmas morning to find them. Christmas Eve was a day for sharing stories and singing carols around the fireplace. On Christmas Day, no matter how cold the day was or how deep the snow, the family would rise early and go to a Christmas service. They might travel by buggy or sleigh or sometimes on foot. When they returned from the Christmas service, they would sit down at the table for a lovely Christmas meal. The preparations for this meal had been going on for months. The family would have made sure that the goose was nice and fat, and when the weather got cold, the poultry, pigs, and cows from the land would provide meat for the family. This meat could be cured, smoked, or dried. The smoked meats for the Christmas meal would have been prepared this way. The best fruits and vegetables from the garden would have been saved for this meal as well. The fruits might have been made into jams or jellies. Remember that the early settlers didn't have fridges or freezers or electricity, so it was really important to find different ways to preserve the food that they had spent all year growing, to tide them over the long winter months. Women would bake breads and pastries using eggs from the hen house and fruits that they'd preserved from the garden. Candies and cookies would also be made. Sugar was very expensive and would have been saved up for an event just like this. One fun activity to do with friends or neighbors would be to make the taffy. The ingredients for the taffy would be boiled on the stove and then poured over freshly fallen snow to cool down. The last step would be to pair up with a friend or neighbor and stretch the taffy out by hand. The taffy could be broken into little pieces and would be savored for hours. After dinner, friends and neighbors could drop by to swap stories and sing songs and share some hot apple cider. Settlers came to this area from many different countries, each bringing their own Christmas traditions with them. Although they faced hardships in Canada, they were able to adapt to their new way of life and still enjoy a wonderful holiday with their friends and family.
Welcome to the one-room schoolhouse. Typically, children that lived in the rural area would attend a school like this. Children from grades 1 to grade 8 would all be in the same room. They'd be getting ready for their Christmas concert right now. So they would decorate the classroom, and the night of the concert, they would move the desks out of the way so that their parents and other people in the community could come in and watch their show that they were putting on. So something they would be doing for the Christmas concert would be singing songs and working really hard on memorizing a poem, similar to the one we have here on the blackboard. Okay, so something else that the boys and girls might do is take just a regular sheet of paper and fold it, and then they could make paper snowflakes, and then they would hang it in the window, so then it would look like it was snowing inside. Some of the things that they might make for Christmas decorations just out of scraps of fabric would be some ornaments. So this one is just made out of felt, hand sewn together with some spare buttons that might have been around your house and brought in. And then they could also do some gingerbread men and women, and that's just using scrap paper and some scrap fabrics and buttons again, and then they could hang those on the tree or put them in the window. Another thing that they might do is take a Christmas card, fold it into a box so that they could maybe put a small gift inside of it and hang it on the tree. Okay, so some of the decorations that they would have here would be some of the paper chains that they would work really hard on. They cut colored paper and then attach them together and then hang it in the window so you could put some decorations. Other things that they might do is take stuff from outside and bring it in. So there's some evergreens here, and then some berries and things like that, just to make it feel a little more Christmassy inside. And then other things that they may do is take some old socks that have holes and stuff and scrap buttons and fabric and things and make some cute little snowman decorations, just to make things look a little more Christmassy in the classroom.